Hi, I'm Tommy, a guy who wants to share some cool stuff with you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. You know you were wrong. You felt it the second the words left your mouth. Your stomach dropped, your face got hot, and then something inside you slammed shut, hard, like a vault door. You didn't say sorry, you never do. But here's what nobody sees. Your brain didn't freeze. It went to war. And right now in this POV, you're about to find out exactly what your ego is doing instead of letting those two words out. Why does this POV fascinate people? Because everyone knows someone like you. The coworker who doubles down, the partner who rewrites history, the friend who storms out instead of owning it. From the outside, you look arrogant, stubborn, maybe even cruel. People think you're strong. They think you don't care. But psychologist Guy Winch, who writes the Dear Guy column for TED, puts it plainly, people who can't apologize aren't tough. They're projecting something fragile. And that paradox is why videos about never saying sorry explode online. Everyone has watched you win an argument and lose a person at the same time. They want to know what's happening behind your eyes. So what does your daily reality actually look like from the inside? You hurt someone. Maybe you raised your voice. Maybe you forgot something important. Maybe you said something sharp you can't take back. Maybe you were late again. Maybe you dismissed something they cared about because admitting you dismissed it felt too heavy. The moment passes. Silence fills the room. And your mind doesn't go to repair, it goes to defense. Automatically. Before you even decide. First, justification. You tell yourself they were too sensitive. You tell yourself the context matters more than they think. You tell yourself you had a reason. Psychologist Karina Schumann at the University of Pittsburgh studies exactly this pattern. She identifies 3 major barriers that stop people from apologizing. Low concern for the other person, fear that saying sorry will destroy your self-image, and the belief that an apology won't work anyway. For you, barrier number 2 is the boss fight. Your brain treats I'm sorry like a confession of identity failure. Not I did something bad, but I am bad. That's the shame trap. Guilt says you made a mistake. Shame says you were the mistake, and your ego cannot survive shame, so it chooses a different path. Here's what your brain does instead of apologizing. Step 1. Cognitive reframing. You rewrite the story until you're the reasonable one. The other person overreacted. The timing was bad. They always do this. Research on cognitive dissonance shows that when your actions clash with your self-image, the discomfort is unbearable. Your mind doesn't fix the behavior. It fixes the narrative. Step 2. Blame externalization. Circumstances get the fault. Stress, sleep, work, traffic, anything but you. Step 3. Counterattack. If they push, you pivot. You bring up old wounds. You question their tone. You make them defend themselves. So you're no longer the one on trial. And step 4. The silent repair. Later, you might be extra nice. You might buy something. You might crack a joke. You might show up with coffee. You're trying to fix the relationship without saying the words that feel like self-destruction. Psychologically, it's a workaround. Emotionally, it rarely lands. Now let's talk about the hidden upside. Because your ego isn't stupid. It's protecting you from something that feels worse than conflict. In 2013, researchers Tyler Okimoto, Michael Wenzel, and Kylie Hedrick published a study in the European Journal of Social Psychology with the title that says it all: Refusing to apologize can have psychological benefits. They found that when people refused to say sorry, they reported higher self-esteem afterward. Not lower. Higher. They also felt more power, more control, more integrity. Refusing to apologize gives you a short-term chemical win. You didn't bow. You didn't shrink. You didn't hand someone else the moral high ground. For a brain built on fragile self-worth, that moment feels like survival. And survival feels good. That's why you keep doing it. Your ego learned that silence plus confidence beats vulnerability plus repair, at least in the first 5 minutes. But here's the hidden downside nobody posts about. The win expires fast. Relationships don't forget. People start walking on eggshells around you. They stop bringing up problems because they already know how the conversation ends, with you winning and them feeling crazy. You notice it in small ways first. Shorter replies, polite distance, jokes that don't land anymore, invitations that stop coming. You tell yourself they're being dramatic. Your ego prefers that story. But deep down, somewhere you won't visit, you know the pattern. Every unresolved wound you left open became a wall. And walls don't announce themselves. They just quietly shrink the room you get to stand in. Over time, your circle gets thinner. Not because you're hated, because you're exhausting. Schumann's research also shows that people consistently overestimate how humiliating an apology will feel and underestimate how much it helps. You think saying sorry will wreck you. The data says the opposite. Sincere apologies usually restore connection faster than any clever defense ever could. But you never get to feel that relief, because your ego blocks the door before you can walk through it. And the cruelest part? The more you refuse to apologize, the more isolated you become. And isolation makes the ego even more defensive. It's a loop. You protect yourself into loneliness. What do most people get wrong about this POV? They think you don't feel guilt. You do, often intensely. They think you enjoy hurting people. You usually don't. They think confidence equals health. It doesn't. Guy Winch describes a key rule. The more rigid your defenses, the more fragile the ego behind them. You might look unshakable, but inside you're one you were wrong away from feeling like you're dissolving. Another myth, that you're just selfish. Many non-apologizers actually care deeply. They just experience care and shame as incompatible. Apologizing feels like erasing themselves, so they choose self-preservation over connection every time. And people misread that as not loving them. The truth is harder. You might love them. You just love your intact self-image more in the moment the harm happens. That's not evil. That's psychology misfiring in real time. Think about the last time someone demanded you apologize on the spot. Did it work? No. It made you dig in harder. Because when your ego feels cornered, it doesn't surrender, it escalates. You dispute facts. You mock the tone. You leave. That's not strength. That's a nervous system in lockdown. And the tragedy is this. You often know they're right. You replay the moment later, alone, in the shower, in bed at 2 a.m. You construct the perfect apology in your head, word for word, and still you don't send it. Because daylight makes vulnerability feel dangerous again. So how should this develop? Not through force, not through public shaming, not through louder arguments. You will always find a way to win. The path out starts with separating action from identity. You can be a good person who did a bad thing. Those two ideas can coexist. Research on self-affirmation before apology shows that when people remind themselves of their broader values first, the threat of saying sorry drops. Your ego relaxes when it knows one mistake won't delete the whole story. Second, name the shame before it names you. When you feel heat in your chest and words dying in your throat, that's not weakness approaching. That's your alarm system. Recognize it. Third, understand that apology returns power to the other person, yes, but it also returns honesty to you. And honesty, over time, builds a self you don't have to defend every hour of every day. That's real strength, not the performance of never being wrong. You know you were wrong. You felt it the second the words left your mouth. But now you also know what your brain did instead of letting you say sorry. It fought to keep you standing in a mirror that can't crack. And maybe, just maybe, the bravest thing you'll ever do isn't winning the argument. It's finally saying the two words your ego spent a lifetime trying to bury.